Welcome to the podcast editing and support show. My name is Dave. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go. We're going to start the episode right now. Happy to have you here. Let's do this. Hey, welcome back to the podcast editing and support show. Glad to be here with you. We are now in like 68 countries. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for pressing play. Thank you for being here. 68 countries? Come on now. This is really great. I look at the map on Captivate. It's where we're hosted for this podcast. And it gives me a map of the world. Like I get to see the whole world. And I see all these countries highlighted and I'm like, what is going on? So thank you so much wherever you are listening. I would love to hear from you. It's one thing to listen, one thing to press play. It's another thing to reach out to your favorite podcast, which this might just be, and connect with the host. So to that point, podcasteditingandsupport.com. SpeakPipe right there. You can leave me a message. Also in the show notes. It's right there. Go look at your phone. It's right there. Right there. Click that button and leave me a message. I'd love to hear from you. And tell me where you're listening. Are you an editor? Do you support podcasters? Are you looking for an editor? I would love to hear from you. Podcasteditingandsupport.com. I'm finding some people coming to the show and downloading like the entire podcast. And I'm like, what is happening? So thank you so much for being a part of this group, this little community we're building here of podcast editors and support people who help podcasters and the podcasters looking for support. That's what the show is all about. And I'm glad you're here. My name is Dave. I live in Ontario, Canada. I live near a big thing. It's a big hill, lots of water, called Niagara Falls. And it's pretty cool. If you've never been here, you should come. And if you have been, then also leave me a message on SpeakPipe and tell me where you're from and when you visited. Love to hear your thoughts about Niagara Falls. Thank you so much for being here. Let's get into this. We got lots to talk about. Happy to have you here on the show. So today we're going to look at hiring a podcast producer. This is really going to be helpful for you as a podcaster listening to the show, thinking about hiring somebody. It's the intent of this podcast is to help podcasters and podcast editors to meet each other. It's like a dating service via a podcast. So for you as a podcaster, here's some things. I'm going to give you 5 like must-have skills that every podcast producer, editor, support person should have. And for you podcast editors and support people out there listening, thank you for being here. These are 5 things that you need to develop and work on and hone your skills in. So it helps both people. This episode helps on either side of the fence here as we talk about editing and support. So you're in the right spot. Lots to learn, lots to share, and I'm thrilled that you're here. Let's jump into the content. Let's go. I don't think anybody's going to argue or complain or disagree that podcasting is not that crowded. It is crowded. There's a lot going on in podcasting, millions and millions of shows going out into the world, and we're all competing for attention as podcasters. And the idea of building a successful podcast entirely on your own is quickly fading. Once required only a few thousand downloads to stand out, and now it demands more of a strategic and polished audience-focused approach to helping your podcast. And some of podcasters, we just don't have the skill set for that. We don't know how to do that, and we don't know how to do it well. And leveraging the skill set of somebody who does this and helps many podcasters is a great way to learn and gain knowledge through an editor, through a support person that can really help our show just grow quickly. It's a great tool in our toolbox. As podcasting continues to evolve into really a dominant media channel, the role of a skilled producer in podcasting has become more essential than ever, I believe. I am biased because I am an editor, but I really think there's something happening in podcasting that's making podcasting rise above traditional newspapers and radio and television. There's something special about it. Even over YouTube, there's something special about podcasting right now. And for listeners, experience is everything. Audio quality matters, pacing, content flow, consistency, all of these things really help to shape whether someone subscribes to your show or clicks away, moves on to something different, something better. And a great podcast producer brings together all the creative vision elements of a podcast, the technical expertise of how to do it better and how to be more efficient, and the strategic thinking to elevate your show beyond just taking out the ums and ahs. You can have a tool do that for you, but a person is going to help you elevate your podcast. There's no tool for that yet. And if you're looking to hire support for your show, there's some traits that a podcast producer, an editor, a support person, and a podcaster themselves are looking for to help them with their show. The first is to have a podcast project management and workflow optimization process that's going to help you to serve your clients better. And this is something you need to have in place so that when your podcaster reaches out and says, "Do you have this?" You're like, "Oh, I sure do." A high-performing podcast requires more than just hitting record. It really involves scheduling, guest coordination, content planning, editing timelines, publishing and promotion. A strong producer excels at podcast workflow management, ensuring that every step from recording to release really runs smoothly for your show. They use systems, they have tools, they have processes to keep your show consistent. And this is really critical since consistency is probably one of the most talked about and realized factors in podcast growth and retention is showing up on a regular, consistent basis. Your audience builds you into their world, and by building you into their world, you own a piece of real estate in the hearts and minds of your listeners. So it's really important that you have something to help you as a podcast editor and even as a podcaster that helps you to organize and manage your podcast and your workflow and optimize it all. So if you don't have that, you need to look into some tools or processes or research on how you can make your show better. What about podcast content research and topic development ideas? Podcast editors and support people, we can help you with this. Again, let's go beyond the ums and ahs. Okay, there's tools for that. You just click a button, ums and ahs, gone. Podcast editing is much, much more than just doing the basic cleanups in a vocal track. It's way more than that. Great podcasts are built on meaningful, relevant content. The skilled producer goes beyond surface level ideas and conducts in-depth research to develop the episode topics and align with the audience interests, to go deeper with the guest and understand not just the book they wrote, but the why behind it and what makes them unique in this space. That kind of stuff is great support that a podcast editor and support person can do for you and your show. You don't have time to do that. You're running your business. You're a coach. You're a leader in your space. You don't have time to do all this. Let us do this for you. When you look at those big shows and you hear them refer to somebody off camera, like Theo Vaughn does it and Mel Robbins does it and Joe Rogan does it, they'll call on their staff and their team and go, "Pull that up. Give me that information. What about, find that article where the thing was mentioned." And their team is just there. That's podcast editing and support. You don't see them on camera. They're not public facing, but they make the show run. And without them, you wouldn't have the details, the information they need in that moment to do their job well. So you can see them in those moments. And it's so amazing to hear that, see that. It's outstanding. That's what we do. That's what podcast editors and support people do. We are the people behind the scenes making this happen. We can help, again, go through and identify trending topics in your topic and what you're talking about. We can become part of your research team and validate your ideas through search behavior and going out into the world and seeing what the world is saying about the topic that you're thinking about doing in your next episode. We can help you shape your episodes that are both engaging and better discoverability built into the show itself through titles and show descriptions and show notes and blog posts and social posts. We can help you with all those things. Strong research also supports a better guest interviews, sharper questions, and more valuable conversations. All of these things make your show better. Podcast content research and topic development is one thing. If you don't do this as a podcast editor, you should be focusing on this. You should be learning this. And as a podcaster, you would benefit greatly from somebody on your team, on your side, who gets you, understands your audience and understands your content, you as a podcaster, and can develop and provide you that content research and topic development, lean into that. Request it. Ask that of your podcast editor and support person that you're interviewing or considering it. Ask them about this. And if they don't offer this, move on, because there's someone else out there who can help you with this. That's the idea of this show. Also, podcast editing and audio design, sound design is another key element that podcasters can benefit from, and podcast editors and support people can really hone their skills on making a show better by how it's designed from an aesthetic and from a sound perspective. More engaging for the audience. It's really important. Audio quality in podcasting matters so much. And in the world of video podcasting, audio still is a huge thing that we need to focus on. Just because there's video doesn't mean the audio is like second class. Audio has to be good no matter if it's video or not. And as podcast editors support people, we can take the crappiest guest audio, the worst possible scenarios, and fix it and make it better for the audience. And that's something that we do. And if your podcast editor is not doing that for you, it's time to look for a new editor. Audio quality can make or break your podcast. Listeners expect clean, balanced, and immersive sound. And poor audio is one of the fastest ways for you to lose an audience. A qualified producer, podcast producer, editor, support person can really bring their expertise in editing and noise reduction, leveling, and overall sound design. I would even say and put out there that if you can hire a podcast editor and support person with a musical background who understands music and tempo and key and all of that, that's going to even make your show even better. It's one thing, I've been a musician for 45 years, and I can tell you, a musical sense as a podcast editor will make you stand out. It'll make you stand out. So fall in love with music and bring your musical aptitude into podcast editing and support, and watch your clients fall in love with you. It really works. This qualified producer, we can bring that expertise in editing, noise reduction, leveling, overall sound design. It's what we do. And we understand how to use digital audio to create a polished final product. We know how to use the tools. We understand what they do and how they can make things better. And we can enhance that listener experience and keep people coming back just by how the podcast is edited in audio and video, and that sound design, the elements that make a show better. We can do that. Podcast analytics, audience insights, and growth strategy, huge part of what we do as a support person in editing and podcast editing and support, because we have access to the tools to make your show better. We have tools that'll tell you a bunch of things, and you don't have time to do this. So let us do this for you. We can do this. Imagine trying to keep track of all of the things. Your rankings in Apple, your reviews, your comments in Spotify, your comments on YouTube, all of the things, your listeners. I'd mentioned we have over 60 countries listening to this show right now. As a podcaster, you might not have access to this. You might not have time to do this and go through and do this information. Imagine a one-page or an email summary at the end of every month and how that month went, and month-over-month comparisons and all of this stuff that can give you a good idea of how your podcast is growing. If you don't measure something, you have no idea what's happening. So we as podcast editor and support people should be your go-to for podcast analytics, audience insights, and growth strategies. Understanding your audience is key to growing your show. A strong producer knows how to interpret podcast analytics, including listener behavior, retention rates, and traffic sources. We can do all of these things for you. We can identify what content is working, like what your audience really loves about your show, where listeners are dropping off in the episode, where people are leaving, and maybe we can help you to figure out why, and how to refine your strategy. Podcast editors and support people, we can really help you with the data behind your show. We can help you to make better, smarter decisions about your podcast. as far as topics and formats and distribution and guests and questions and interview skills. And we can help you with all of these things. We can help you with your podcast analytics, audience insights, and the growth of your show, the strategy behind your show. Don't try to do this alone as a podcaster. Grab a team, grab some support. This is what we do. As well, we as podcast editors and support people can help you to tell a better story. We can help you with your storytelling, your episode structure, and your listener engagement. We can help you with this. At the heart of every successful podcast, there's a compelling story. There's your story as the podcaster. There's the story of the listener listening to your episode. And then there's the content, the story within the content, and how that connects all of these things together. A great podcast producer understands how to shape a raw conversation, an interview over Zoom or whatever, into an engaging show. Every conversation doesn't have to be a podcast. Every recording, every time you talk to a guest, just because it's 45 minutes of recording time doesn't mean it needs to be 45 minutes of released episode time. We can go through and take out some of the things that don't add value, don't fit the narrative of the episode, don't fit the goal of your show. All of these things are important so that your audience knows exactly that they're in the right place at the right time and they're getting the information that they came for based on the title and the description and your history of content creation. They're coming for that. They're coming for you. But we can help you do it better. We as podcast editors and support people, we can help you to guide your episode structure, the pacing of your show, the flow of your podcast, and maybe that question that you asked in the middle of the interview would have been better at the beginning of the interview. We can help move those things around and actually build a better structure to the interview that you didn't capture in the moment. We can do that. That's something we can do. Whether it's a solo episode of your podcast, an interview, strong storytelling keeps listeners engaged and increases the likelihood that they're going to return for future episodes. So here's a bonus for you. Podcast industry experience and niche expertise. For your podcast editor and support people, why is this important? Beyond all the core traits that a podcast editor brings to your show to help you with your show, working with a podcast producer who understands your niche and can be an actual major advantage for you and your show. Industry-specific experience allows a producer to bring relevant insights, suggest targeted content ideas for your podcast, keep you on track. There's podcasters that edit for shows and they focus just on financial podcasts. There's podcasters who just do medical podcasts. There's podcasters who do legal podcasts. And they understand the content. They understand the legalities of what's been said on the mic. They can step in and go, you mentioned something that could actually get your show in trouble here at the 10-minute mark. I think we should take this out because you mentioned a company and we don't have permission to talk about that company. Or you said something without providing the background. Maybe we need to add more to the content here. This seems light. This seems like a distraction from the content, and maybe we should remove this. Your guest said the wrong company name here, and we need to watch. So understanding the content from a listener's perspective as well could really save you and your show. So we can do more than just give you the stats, take out the ums and ahs, and post your episode to your hosting site. We can do way more. We understand the language, the trends, and the challenges within your space. And we can help you to create content that resonates at a deeper level. Leverage your team. They can do more for you than you've ever thought or considered or imagined. Let your team step up and show you the kind of value they can bring to your podcast. Value that will turn into sales and new leads and new clients because of what's happened in your show that brings people to you and keeps them in your world. So consider that as a podcaster, that your team that you build around your show can make your show so much better. I know one podcaster, for example, that what they do is they've actually hired somebody, and all they do is, it's a solo podcast. All they do is sit on camera, muted, on the screen, and watch the podcaster record their episode so that the podcaster has a point of reference, someone to look at and see the expressions on your face. That's their role. They don't talk. They don't come off mic. They don't do anything except just sit there during the recording process and just watch the podcaster record. They don't want to be alone. Would that bring value to you? Just having somebody be on your screen? There's way more that we can do for you beyond the ums and the ahs. So think about that. Some closing thoughts as we kind of head towards the door, because we got lots of podcasts to go edit. We got stuff to do. Here's some thoughts. Choosing the right podcast producer, I think, can really transform your show from a passion project into something more professional, have better impact on the platform and for your audience. We're not just editors or coordinators of your show. We're key collaborators. We work alongside of you. We want your podcast to succeed. And as you evaluate your podcast producer decisions on who you're going to work with, your potential producers, look beyond their technical skills. Yeah, those are important. Yes, we need to know how to do all of the things. But consider the alignment that you have with the person you're considering for your show. It's got to be the right fit in personality, communication style, creative vision. It's going to foster a stronger partnership that's going to lead to a better podcast for you and for your audience. A great podcast producer combines the workflow management, the research, the audio quality, the analytics, the storytelling, and all of these elements combined to create a consistent and more engaging and growth-focused listener experience for your podcast. Beyond the ums and ahs, we can help you with your show. So reach out. Look, if you're looking for a podcast editor support person, reach out to me. I do know people that are looking for clients right now. I have some openings as well to help you if that works for you, depending on what your needs are. We all have different needs, different things we're looking for. Happy to help you. And yeah, even if you wanted to put an ad here on the podcast saying, hey, here's what I'm looking for. Here's my show idea. Here are the elements of a good podcast producer that I'm looking for based on this show. And if you'd like to, you could put an ad here for your podcast and do a shout out. And we have people listening from around the world, over 60 countries. And we have some great people listening that could help you. So reach out. If you want to put an ad on here as a podcaster, I'd love to help you with that as well. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being part of the show. Catch you on the next episode. And thank you, wherever you're listening. I would love to hear from you. podcasteditingandsupport.com. Take care. Thanks for listening to the Podcast Editing and Support Show. Visit us at podcasteditingandsupport.com. podcasteditingandsupport.com. We would love to help you find a great podcast editor, or if you want to hire us, we would love to work with you. podcasteditingandsupport.com. Catch you on the next episode. Take care.